Hey everyone, and welcome to another one of our videos. Today I'm going to be replacing the air filters in my 2012 Mercedes S550. The same exact process will apply for 2012 to 2013 model S550s, and I believe it applies to most other vehicles with the M278 engine. I'm going to be using two of Monfilter part numbers C3397s, and this should be a relatively simple job. It's a little bit more complex than some other cars in terms of replacing the air filter. It's not just a bunch of clips, you actually have to take out the air boxes, but it's not extremely difficult by any means. So, in order to do that, the first step that we need to do is start by removing the engine covers. Now we've got three separate engine covers, one right here up at the front, which kind of just pops off like so. This is the one that you have to remove in order to access your oil filter. You have another engine cover over here. Should pop off the same way. That's the one that you use to access your oil fill. And we have the third engine cover, which is here in the center. Now this one's loose up at the front, so we should be able to pop it loose in the back on either side, and then there's a clip or two clips right here in the middle, two clips that you have to pop loose to get the cover free. So we now have the cover removed and we're ready to take out the air boxes. So what I'm going to do is resituate the camera so you can see things a little bit better. We'll come back and I'll show you how to remove the air boxes, which are the two things right here that just say V8 on them. Alrighty, so we're now on to removing the air boxes. First step in doing that is going to be loosening these clamps here up front, the ones that hold this rubber coupler that connects the air intake metal pipe to the air box. Loosening those up. 7mm socket on a little impact. Just going to go ahead and get on that fastener, and it's nice and loose. Going to do the same on the other side. That one's nice and loose. You don't have to take them off or anything like that. You just need to loosen them up so you can slip the airbox out whenever you have everything unclipped and disconnected. Now, the next step, you can do one of two options on the passenger side for disconnecting the sensor. There's a sensor back here. I believe it's the manifold air pressure sensor. That's what logic would dictate, or at least an intake air pressure sensor. So it's back there. There's a little convoluted tube covered harness that runs along the airbox and clips to the airbox itself, and there's another connection point right here on this side. Now on the other side, it appears that there is only one connection point at the back, which we'll actually take off back there. But for demonstration purposes, the connector is the same, so I'm going to show you how to disconnect this one up here, and I'm going to leave the harness on this side. So if you need to get a little bit of extra wiggle room to remove this connector, all you need to do is quarter turn the little blue clip there, and it'll kind of pop right out. And then to get this connector disconnected, it's pretty simple. You take a little flat blade screwdriver, you just use it to get in there, unless you have really, really strong fingernails. To pop that little gray piece loose, it just slides out, and you push that down just a little bit, and the connector is removed. So I'm going to go ahead and put the quarter turn connector back on, since that's going to stay with the airbox. And at this point, the airbox is more or less ready to come out. Now I'm probably going to have to do that off camera, but essentially the way this comes out is you have the metal tube, which you've now loosened at the coupler. You have this tube right here that feeds intake air from the front grille back to the airbox. This one just kind of clips on. There's no clamp or anything like that. There's a couple little indentations on the tube itself that slip over and kind of nest with a matching one on the airbox. So that kind of just slides apart. And then whenever you're actually pulling the airbox out, I'm going to try to demonstrate, but if I have to, I'll do it off camera. When you're ready to pull the box out, you kind of just pop it up, sliding out there. It slides out there. So that wasn't too bad. You can see how relatively easy that was. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do the air filter change on this side, and I'm just going to repeat the process on the other side. It's the same thing except mirror image. So I'm going to switch to the floor, set the airbox down, and show you what we're going to do to replace the filter. So the airbox is now out, and in order to remove the filter from the airbox, essentially this thing's made up of two halves, a lower half and an upper half. To remove the air filter, you have 4 Torx T25 screws, one there, one there, one there, and one there. And all we need to do is, in my case using a little impact, take them loose. They don't come out, they're captured. Let me take this a little bit off camera for just a sec so I can reach them. And then once you've gotten those loose, this guy should just pop apart. Might be easier said than done because it's looking like these filters haven't been changed in a little bit. Just want to double check that everything's loose, which they are. And you can check by actually pushing them up and down a little bit to make sure that they are. I'm going to go ahead and separate this off camera. I think I'm going to need to get out some plastic pry tools and kind of pop this thing apart. This is why you want to change your air filters regularly, because if you don't, A, they'll get dirty, and that's not good for your car. I can actually see through the intake tube right here, the filter, and it ain't very clean. So it's past due. I just picked up this car not that long ago, so I'm getting all of the maintenance done up to my specification, which this is a part of. But we're going to go ahead and pry this apart and figure out what's going on. This is a perfect example of why you need to change your air filter. I have no prior record of when this air filter was last changed. I can only assume it was by a dealership at some point. What that point is, I don't know, because that is a terrifically dirty air filter. Not the worst one that I've ever seen, but pretty darn dirty. You can see where actually a lot of the stuff spilled out here. There's bug guts, bees, leaves, all sorts of fun things that came out, and there's a whole bunch also on the filter itself. So, in order to remove the filter, it should just come out really easily. This one's not, because like I said, it's been in there for so long. With how stuck in here this is, I wouldn't be shocked if this is maybe only the first or second filter. I don't think it's probably the original filter, but I wouldn't be shocked if this is only the second filter the car's ever had, because it's been in there for some time, and the gasket surface is very much squared off in the shape of the airbox. I'll show you on a new filter how that's not the case. What I'm going to do right now, before I put everything back together, is vacuum out the airbox and also vacuum up the mess I've made on the floor. The reason I do this is to make sure that none of the dirt and stuff that's left over in the lower portion of the airbox, the pre-filter portion, gets into the new filter. Why clog up a brand new filter, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Off camera, it's vacuuming, no big deal. Just get out a shop vac and suck it all up. And we will proceed with putting the new filter in and putting everything back together. I'll show you that on this side, and I'm going to do the other side, and we'll finish out the video. All right, so we have the air filter back in the lower airbox. The reason I like to stick it in there is because there's a recessed section that it just slots nicely into, and from that point, it's just all set and ready to go. It won't come out if you flip it over or anything like that. So what you need to do to reinstall everything is put the lower airbox back on the upper. Make sure it's all lined up and everything. And then at that point, you're ready to tighten all the screws down. So what I do, use a little very low impact, very low torque, I should say, 1/4 inch drive impact, and just thread everything nice and slowly back into place. If my motor skills will function today. So, just a couple clicks, done deal on all of them. It's ready to go. What I'm going to do right now, after doing that with the impact, is take a hand ratchet and just check snugness. But this speeds up the process a little bit. So that's it for reinstalling the air filter into the airbox. And I'm going to show you how to put the airbox back in the car and reassemble everything on the passenger side. We're ready to put the airbox back. First step in doing that is just going to be making sure that we get our intake pipes aligned and connected. So both the incoming and the outgoing from the airbox. Make sure that we get those slotted into place. And then once we have that done, the airbox just sets back down. There's a couple of rubber studs and the metal clips that you saw on the bottom of the airbox. Those go over those rubber studs. And that is set back into place now. This tube right here, the one that feeds into the airbox, is nice and tight. This one obviously we'll have to tighten back up once we finish up the job. But that's it for this side. So we can actually tighten that side back up right now if we wanted to. To fully complete changing this passenger side air filter, we reconnect the sensor connector, snap it back into place, and we'll retighten this and be done. Now, doing the driver's side is exactly the same as the passenger side, just a mirror image of it. So you still have the 4 screws on the bottom, you still take off the clamp, you still undo everything. The only big difference is the fact that the connector that you take loose is not up here. You can see it's not over there. It's actually back here on the back. So your physical sensor's on the back. And on the passenger side too, you have another one of those connectors back here. You essentially have an extension that goes from here to here on the passenger side. On the driver's side, you just have this going directly into the sensor back here. So you take it loose the same way, done deal, super easy. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off the video here. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and I'm happy to help if I can. With that, I want to thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.